In this video, we want to talk about how to use GeoGebra, a website, to do many of the same things that we can do on the TI-83, 84. So what we want to look at specifically is how to do the test, how to do a t-test, how to do a z-test on the calculator. So if you remember a problem we looked at before, a used car dealer says the mean price of a 2-year-old sedan, and we go through the problem, and we found our null and alternate hypothesis. Mu is greater than 20,500 and mu is less than 20,500. Our sample size was 14. Our X bar was 19,850. Our standard deviation of our sample was 1084, and our alpha was 0.05. So we would do this problem, and you can see here, this is how we would do it on the calculator. We'd go in and do the t-test. We'd type in our information. Remember, we would always, this line right here would always correspond to our H sub A. Now I want you to notice the direction of the inequality sign. This is going to become really important as we go forward. You can see that this is pointing to the left. This is a left-tailed test, just like this is a left-tailed test because it's pointing to the left. We then hit calculate. We get our information over here, and then right here is our p-value. That is 0.0215, which is less than alpha, so we reject H sub O, and then we can write our sentence about there's enough evidence and so forth, okay? What we want to talk about here today in this video is how to find this p-value not on the calculator. How can you do that? Now, one of the things that is also on Google Classroom is this this sheet right here, which kind of explains how to do it. This is the website we have to go to. This link will also be on Google Classroom, and that takes you to this kind of graphing calculator here that you could use to graph also, but we want to use this as our statistics calculator. Down here in the bottom left is the keyboard. You can type the numbers in. You can also type those numbers on the keyboard of your computer. So let's look at how we can use this. So in this one here, we have a t-test, and we have all of our information here. Our mu sub 0 is our 20,500. That's our H sub O. Our X bar is 19,850. Our standard deviation S is 1084, and our sample size is 14, and we have a left-tailed test. So on this paper, you can see down here what we're going to type in, and I'll show it to you on this paper, then show you how that works on the computer. We're going to write in t-test, and we put in our information. Now up here, it shows you the order of the information. This is kind of the syntax. You have to put the sample mean in first, 19,850, the sample standard deviation, 1084, the sample size, 14, this hypothesized mean, which is just our H sub O, so that's 2,500, and then the tail. So this is just the greater than, less than, or equal sign, and the important thing is to notice here that you have to have quotes on either side of it. So this paper here that kind of explains this, if it's a z-test, you see a similar thing here. So this kind of explains how you do that. Okay, so let's go back to our website. So we go to here. Up here in the left, we type t-test, and you can see it kind of gives a list here that we could use. We don't want a list of the sample data. We're going to start with the information. If you had to have a list and not find the mean and standard deviation, you can do that here. It's much easier just to find the mean and standard deviation by some other means, and then we go to here. So our sample mean was 19,850. My sample standard deviation, I'm just going to delete this here, was my sample standard deviation was 1084. My sample size, it's kind of a pain here sometimes to type this in. My sample size was 14. My hypothesized mean is my H sub O. That number which is 20,500. And then my tail. My tail is going to be a left-tailed test. The important thing you got to remember, though, is you have to put the quotes in. So if you just put in the greater than or less than or equal to sign, it doesn't work. So I have to put in that sign. Take away the spaces. I hit enter, and you can see right here is my p-value, 0.021455, which is the exact same thing I got here, 0.021455, which I have this example here on this paper, so you can see there is my test right there, my p-value. So you can get the same exact value doing the same exact thing as you would on the calculator. Now, let me show you the one thing here. If I do want to change this to not be greater than or less than from your keyboard on your computer, if you want to get the not equal sign, you have to go down here, and if this disappears, let me just say here, the little keyboard in the lower left-hand corner brings it up. You have to go to the ABC. You have to go to the other symbols, and that is where the not equals to symbol comes from if you want to put it in. Now, this is a different question. This is not what we're doing, so it's a different p-value. But that is where the not equals to is at. On the keyboard, on the ABCs, and then the symbols to go there. So that is how you do a test on GeoGebra. So far we have done a Z test and we have done a T test. Both of those are here. If you do Z test command, the command's on the paper. It's a little different. It is Z mean test is what you have to type in. So it's Z mean test, and you can see there it is. You have to put in your sample mean, your sigma, your sample size, and your hypothesized mean, your H sub O, and then your tail. Once again, left, right, or not equals to when you do that. And remember, your H sub O will go the same way as this points. So if this points left as a left-tailed test, when you do that on the calculator, you are going to do the same thing and have it pointing to the left right here. So this matches your H sub A just like it does on the calculator, and it gives you the same answer you're able to get on the TI-84 calculator. So if you don't have a TI-84, you can still do hypothesis testing, and you can still find your p-value.